Hey guys, sorry I'm a bit late for this stage, but here's my first attempt on the World of Illusion Spiritus Ramuh, and this is going to be an S rank clear. This party comp will also meet all weapon objectives, all series objectives and all crystal objectives, allowing you to collect all the rewards with just one run. The centerpiece to this strat is Celes, and you do need Celes fully maxed out, which includes a green BT, blue high armor, force level 30, and ideally a 505 ultimate weapon. The biggest challenge for Celes on this stage is that when the bosses are in aquatic form, such as at the start of the stage right here, they will absorb all elements except thunder and holy, which means that Celes will actually be battering the boss unless you can hit them for thunder or holy damage. For that reason, you do need to bring Ashe along. The Ashe that I have here is already built up to her LD. I do not have a burst weapon and I do not have her FR. All you really need is her LD, and her role is really just to enchant the party with thunder and holy. Everything else is really just a bonus with Ashe. For the third party member, I did test a little bit with Gebrand, and Gebrand may be a viable choice if you have him fully built, but ultimately I went with Setzer instead, and I think Setzer will likely be a little bit more consistent than Gebrand, owing to the fact that he can provide the party with rainbow damage, and his Freeze Joker debuff comes in very valuable when the bosses go on the final offensive at the end of the stage. Unfortunately also, this run is going to be pretty long, mainly because when the bosses hit down to 9% HP, they will heal themselves with 40% HP and will go into a 20 turn force time, and the way that you win here is to just wait their force time out. So you do need to allow the bosses to get 20 turns among them for you to clear the stage, and that leads to, I guess, a rather lengthy battle. The goal at the start is to really just try to charge your force time as quickly as possible, and it shouldn't be too difficult because you're using 3 synergy units, so you actually start with 50% of the force gauge filled. Before you enter force time with Celes, you want to use a BT mode to get her BT aura up, and you want to also use Setzer's LD to get his LD buff on your party. You can try to buy time by using Ashe's Queen's Order at the start to turn manipulate and to charge everyone's EX gauge, and then after that you can use Ashe's EX to paralyze the boss as well, which should buy you enough time. Right here you see all characters getting debuffed with 3 turns of sap because the boss has used an attack called Shining Venom. This is an extremely dangerous debuff because the sap here is extremely potent. It actually restores 80% of the boss's max brave, which usually equates to more than 100,000 brave that they gain. For this reason right here, you see that I use a Setzer Freeze Joker. This is the only Freeze Joker that I use before the boss go into their final offensive, and I would highly recommend to save his remaining 2 Freeze Jokers for the later parts of the stage as well. Landing the Freeze Joker here is really just to counteract the sap debuff that you have on your characters. While I'm building force gauge, I just want to quickly mention also that I did remove all speed passives on all 3 characters, and as always I will list the passives that I removed in the video description as well, so you can check that out for more information. During Celes Force time, couple of things. Firstly, you want to try to avoid using Setzer's red card because that attack will AoE delay the bosses. Secondly, you actually also want to try to avoid using Ashe's EX unless you absolutely require the paralysis, because when the bosses are paralyzed, they're not going to attack Celes and you miss out on a plus 20% force gauge boost that way. Eventually, Setzer's Freeze Joker will run out, and you want to be very careful here and always ensure that you shave off the boss's brave with your characters, and that shouldn't be very difficult to do because of the rainbow damage that Setzer provides to the entire party. Also, the sap will only restore one of the boss's brave, so all you need to do is really just focus your attacks to shave that boss. Right here you'll see me using Ashe's EX, which I really had to do because it got a little bit dangerous. Both bosses have quite a lot of brave. So I sacrificed a little bit on force gauge charging in order to buy me enough time to shave off the bosses. I ate 1 full HP attack here, but because the bosses are targeting Celes, Celes's last stand kicked in, which allowed me enough time to shave off their brave with Setzer here. On hindsight, I actually should probably have used LD with Celes here, because I'm at force gauge 800% and the LD will probably do much more damage, so this was a mistake on my part. At one turn of Celes Force time remaining, you want to pop Brother Summon for the huge nuke, and this is also where you can try to recharge your force gauge to 100%. Inside summon mode, try not to use instant turn abilities such as Celes's Runic or Ashe's Queen's Order, because they actually charge the force gauge slower than if you were to use a regular turn ability. The force gauge does charge pretty quickly, and one disclaimer here is that my Setzer is only at force level 10, so if your Setzer is at higher force level, you should charge the force gauge significantly quicker than me. With this, I'm at 100% force gauge again, so you know the drill, just go into force time with Celes. The second force time is more or less a repeat of the first. At this point, the bosses should be pretty low. You can see that I start the second force time and the bosses are at 30%. All you really need is to bring both bosses to 9%. So the earlier you start the second force time, the better, because you actually want to use up all 10 turns of your force time by the time the bosses hit 9%, because the final offensive phase of the fight cannot trigger while you are in force time. You are forced to come out of force time in order to trigger the final part of the fight. Somewhere around this point, Celes's BT aura will run pretty low. You can see here that she's only at 1 turn remaining, so this is where you want to hit her BT plus to refresh her BT aura.
行くぜ。反撃だ。決めてくれよ。手を貸せ。やっちまえ。これが切り札だ。ここは私が。
At this point, the bosses are pretty low enough that Celes's next attack will bring them to 9%. This is where I made a mistake. I should probably have used her additional ability as well as the Warrior of Light base call to burn through the last 2 turns of the Force ability. If I were to do that, I will exit Force time right here, and this will allow me to at least waste 3 of the boss's turn in their final offensive here, but instead I have to wait through 1 round of attacks, which is really not very efficient. This is also why you see me using the Lenna LD call on Setzer's turn here, just to burn through the Force time. I have no idea why I forgot to use Setzer's additional ability. That would also be a very good thing to do right here. Anyway, at this part of the fight, just forget about doing damage to the bosses. You can actually kill off the boss, but as you can see, they healed themselves to 49% HP, and it takes quite a long time to whittle through that amount of health. So instead, the strategy here is to just wait out the 20 turns of Force time, because when the bosses exit Force time, you will automatically win the fight. So forget about doing damage to the bosses. At this point of the fight, you want to go into full defensive mode, and that's why I gave defensive calls on all 3 characters. You probably don't need 3 defensive calls. I sort of went overboard here. The Warrior of Light LD call helps quite a lot. You can also consider setting a Raijin call on someone else to give you 2 boss turns of protection, or you can also use a Rydia LD call to give everyone 3 turns of blink. I will also highly recommend to use a Lenna based call to give everyone temporary debuff immunity. That way you can avoid getting sapped from Boss B's Shining Venom attack. Anyway, regardless of which defensive call you use, what you want to do is time it in conjunction with Setzer's Freeze Joker, in the sense that you don't want to stack his Freeze Joker on top of your defensive calls, because it's really a waste. What you want to do is alternate between your defensive calls, and when that runs out, then you switch over to Setzer's Freeze Joker. That way you stay protected for virtually the entire phase of this fight. So one example here is that since I've used the Warrior of Light LD call, I'm just waiting for the Warrior of Light LD call to expire, after which then I will start using Setzer's Freeze Joker. One call that I probably would change here is the Yuna call that I set. I think on hindsight, setting a Rydia LD call would probably be much better. There's really not a lot of need for debuff cleansing. The only reason why I did that was I was really worried about the sap debuff, but this fight actually showed that I didn't really need to use the Yuna call at all. Anyway, I really should have used Setzer Freeze Joker here, but I got a little bit greedy and I thought that I could wait another round, so I tried to use his red card instead. This was really a big mistake, but it still luckily worked out at the end. I completely forgot that the bosses will get instant turns at 12 turns of force time remaining, and at this point I'm not really protected by the Royal Light LD call, so damage starts coming in. Luckily here Setzer finally got his next turn, so this is where you can use Freeze Joker to protect yourself. And since Freeze Joker will land 3 turns of Brave Freeze per boss, that equates to roughly about 6 turns of protection. And with 2 Freeze Jokers remaining, that means that you can chain them to last till the end of the fight. If you run out of Freeze Joker users, don't forget that you can still try to use Ashe EX to stun the bosses, and if you use a Queen's Order, it will instantly refill her EX gauge, which allows you to try to buy more time with more paralysis. Anyway, fight is finally done. As always, I hope the video has been helpful, and if you enjoyed the content, do leave a like, comment and subscribe. It really helps a lot. Till then, I'll see you guys in the next Shinryu fight. Bye!